I want to get into the transfer portal and the latest in the transfer portal because I just touched on a couple of the aspects there in that previous Heisman discussion. Dillon Gabriel goes to Oregon, and here's the thing, is when you're looking at Oregon, he's going to replace a quarterback in Bo Nix that had 60 career starts. He's got 49 right now. If he stays healthy, he's going to break Bo Nix's, FBS record. This is a perfect spot for him. It's a perfect coaching staff, and this roster is loaded. Oregon is loaded. I went back and I looked at my charts from the Utah game. I did the Oregon-Utah game earlier this year. And I remember thinking to myself back then, and I had this discussion with Steve, who's obviously on the podcast, on our games. Steve is the man. And we had this discussion, and I just started walking down the two deeps, and I was like, look at all these freshmen. Look at all these second-year players. They've got so many guys. They've got 10 first-year players on offensive two deep, 6 second-year players. That's just on the offensive two deep. They've got 16 basically freshmen in the defense on their two deep, 4 second-year players. They're loaded. And a lot of those guys were playing, in particular on the defensive front seven. So Oregon's not going anywhere. And in so many ways, they are the best suited of the 4 West Coast teams going to the Big Ten. They're the best, built right now to go in and have success right away in the Big Ten. If you were making the top 3 or 4 for next year's Big Ten championship, Oregon's in that conversation. Oregon's in that conversation. You obviously are going to have Michigan and Ohio State in that conversation. I think Oregon absolutely is in that conversation. And then it's a question about, what is the offense going to look like at Penn State? Because I know they've recruited really well. They had their second-year players were as talented as any in the country last year. All of those guys are going to be back. So, that Penn State team is a bit of a wild card. USC is a bit of a wild card. And we'll see about the rest of the conference. Nebraska might be a bit of a wild card with what they're trying to do in the transfer portal. That's going to be interesting. But again, Gabriel to Oregon right now for me, I'm not going to look at the transfer portal rankings. It's going to be did you get the right pieces to really impact your season? And as of right now, the most impactful transfer piece of this offseason is Dillon Gabriel to Oregon. And when we look at some of the other recruiting and transfer portal news, I don't think that you can talk about that without at least mentioning Colorado. This has been a really good week for Colorado. I know they're a 4-win team, and there's a sector of college football fans that just immediately don't want to hear about this. But if they get better in the right spot, they're going to be competitive, moving to a conference in which they'll have an easier schedule than they did a year ago. If they protect Shedeur, as I was talking about there in the Heisman discussion, they're going to be a really good team. And so here they are, and they land the top offensive tackle prospect in the high school class, Jordan Seaton, a 5-star player. They get, few other players in the transfer portal, including a guy that was a top 100 player out of high school, Tyler Johnson. He's transferring now from Houston to Colorado. They're going to be a lot better on the offensive line. These guys have size. They should be able to protect at least better. And I know that Coach Prime is excited about this, and Shedeur is excited about this. So Colorado is starting to make some moves right now. And then when you look at this, here's the thing is that there's always going to be people trying to tear down what Colorado is doing. Number one, they hit the over of wins. Now, I thought that they had a chance to get to a bowl game this last year, and they really did. They did have a chance. They had 3 or 4 games that they were in, and any play here or there could have gone the other way. Stanford comes to mind. Arizona was a close game. There's 2 wins right there. That's a bowl team. Okay, so they're close to that point. And any improvement outside of that, now you're talking about 8, 9, maybe even 10 wins, okay? Maybe you can compete for the conference title in this first year of the new look Big 12. And yet there's people that just constantly want to take shots. Oh, Sean Lewis went to San Diego State. Yeah, to be a head coach. Name a team that doesn't have some staff turnover. And by the way, when it's for a promotion, good for them. Good for them. And then a player will enter the transfer portal and look at that. The tight end went to the transfer portal. Yes, this happens everywhere. It's called college football. And a lot of people taking shots at Colorado's ranking in the high school recruiting rankings. I will just tell you that those are aggregate rankings. Okay. Those are volume specific. It pays off in your recruiting ranking to have 20, 22, 23, 24, 25 commitments. When you've got 10 like Colorado, because that's all the openings that they have, your ranking is going to get crushed. What I would suggest that you look at is the average player rating of the class, because that will tell you more of the quality of players you're bringing in and the impact that those players may have right away. If you've got an average rating of your class of 90 or more, you're recruiting at a really high level. Now, the elite level is up there like the 92.5 or higher. Those are the programs like Ohio State and Georgia and Alabama and those teams, right? But if you look at the average player rating, here's what you'll find. Here's what you'll find. And this is the truth. So here are the facts. Outside of the narratives that you hear pushed by those that want to tear down Coach Prime in Colorado, Coach Prime is dominating right now in recruiting as it relates to the Big 12. Because right now, their average player rating is 90, which is number one in the Big 12. But you don't hear that in some of these articles. Well, you hear it from me. You hear it from me. So there you have it on Colorado. They're doing a nice job right now. They're doing a nice job. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.